So Roman Reigns and Lashley now, one would have to assume that even though they're doing this storyline with Brock Lesnar that he's not going to be at SummerSlam, this could still act as a number one contender match between these two. And by the way, speaking of Brock Lesnar, I know that there's been some internet reports lately that he's reportedly not going to work SummerSlam. I'm sorry. He will be at SummerSlam. If anybody thinks he's not going to defend the title at SummerSlam, you are crazy. This is probably part of a storyline. I mentioned in my live episode last week that it seemed like WWE may have changed their mind because if you remember, they initially announced a multi-man match for Extreme Rules. The winner would become the number one contender and challenge Brock at SummerSlam. The very next week, they pulled back on that and changed their minds and said that Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar are now refusing to defend the title or they're not going to live up to their contract or whatever the excuse was. They basically weren't willing to play ball. So that forced Kurt Angle to postpone the match or cancel the match, and now we're getting Roman and Lashley instead. So I'm wondering if WWE maybe decided, hey, let's not name the number one contender at Extreme Rules. Let's drag this out a little bit more, but we've already announced we're going to have a number one contenders match at Extreme Rules, so we need to do something to kind of get out of that deal. So they had Paul Heyman do the social media thing, and now they can change the match or whatever. I'm really not sure what the story is there. But rest assured, there is absolutely no way at the second biggest pay-per-view of the year in New York that Brock Lesnar is not going to work that show. He will be there, he will defend the title, and hopefully he will lose it. And there's been a lot of talk about Brock Lesnar as well. He had, I think until last Friday, was the deadline to enter the USADA drug pool or whatever so he can get reinstated into the UFC and potentially fight again in 2018. Now he has missed that deadline, so there's no way he can even return to the UFC this year. It's going to have to be way down the line now, which has got a lot of people speculating that Brock Lesnar might, after all of this shit, stick with WWE after all for the long term. I hope that he does. I know a lot of people are sick of Brock Lesnar, but hey, we know we're getting near the end of his title run now. A lot of the reason for the Brock Lesnar hate is because he's not only never there, but he's also champion. It didn't bother us so much when Brock just showed up here and there and had pay-per-view matches. No big deal, right? But when he's got a championship, a world title, that he's essentially holding hostage at his house and never on Raw, WWE is doing a good job of making the fans hate him. And I think a lot of this Paul Heyman shit and a lot of all these reports of Brock Lesnar, quote-unquote, not working SummerSlam is done by design to get as many fans to hate him as possible, which could be a really good sign that they are going to go with the Roman Reigns match because, you know, they're like, shit, we're going to put Roman in the ring with Brock again. We know the reaction Roman's going to get, but maybe if fans are so fed up and so sick and tired of Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns will actually get cheered. Instead of just giving up on that and putting Brock in there with a new opponent like a Bobby Lashley or maybe somebody like Seth Rollins. And when you think about Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns being hooked up here, I mentioned this in my last episode. It was weird how Roman, he's got this whole deal with Lashley going, right? And he's got this big match with him at Extreme Rules. You can tell they're building a big program between the two, but yet he's still got this little side deal with Seth Rollins. And that kind of makes me wonder if they're keeping Roman and Seth a little bit close here in order to work Seth into the world title situation come SummerSlam. Assuming he falls short in his Intercontinental title match at Extreme Rules, since he's got some association with Roman Reigns. Maybe Seth could even get involved somehow in the Lashley situation as well, and that can at least keep Seth Rollins in the conversation since he's hanging around with a lot of world title contenders, and if he does wind up getting a title shot or challenging Brock, it doesn't feel like it came way out of left field. Feels like Seth belongs there. So maybe that's why Seth and Roman are teaming a little bit more often now on Monday Night Raw and kind of rekindling their Shield brotherhood, even though Roman is busy with Lashley and Seth is busy with Dolph Ziggler. So the whole thing is kind of interesting there, and I'm really not sure one-on-one with Roman and Lashley who I'm going to pick to win this match, but I better figure it out because I'm going to be giving you guys an early predictions video here in just a couple of days.